All right, folks. So what this video is going to show is how we're going to actually create the drawing of this this right here. So this sketch here was created from this isometric view, this pictorial view. It's an isometric or pictorial view. We know that one of these squares equals 1/4 of an inch. And so that has translated over to this. So I'm not going to show this too much anymore. There are other videos that can show you the details of how this sketch was created from this pictorial drawing, but that is not the focus of this video. So what we're going to do now is we're going to translate this drawing, which already has dimensions on it and it has all the object lines, onto a sheet of green paper, and we're going to have it centered neatly in the middle with our drawings, with our views visible. So what we need to do first is we already found the center of this page here. It is a bit faint, but it is right here. I found that with the diagonals, as is traditional here. Let me adjust. Perhaps the exposure may make this a bit better. That might help. So we need to decide how we're going to center all these views on the page. We're not just centering one anymore. We're centering the entire set of the views, which is why a sketch is so important. Because what we can do now is we can look and say, how tall is it? So how big is it from here to here? And these are not dimensions that we'll actually put on the page. These are just dimensions that we're going to take a look at to show. So I want to know how far it is from, I'm going to move this T-square, how far it is from this top part down to the bottom, and I want to know how far it is from here to here, because this entire set of 3 views is what we're going to center on the page. So from here to here, whoops. So these are just some quick sketchy dimensions. So this is easy enough. I could count the squares, but at this point, this is the real size we want. So I'm just going to measure, and look at that. It comes out to about 4 3/4. So this is 4 3/4. And here we've got a total height for our multiple views at 4 1/4. 4 1/4. And now, as is customary, we can write this up here. Height equals 4 1/4. Width equals 4 3/4. As is customary, we're just going to chop these in half, and that's how we'll know how far to go out on either side to get, like, for instance, the lower left corner of our front view. So this is the real point we're shooting for. Our center is going to be somewhere in here. We're going to find this distance and this distance so that we can start at the right spot on our green sheet of paper. So to cut these in half, you can use a calculator or any other method you want, but this comes out to 2 1/8. Well, so that's not equal. That's, divided by 2. We get it down into this. This is going to come out to 2 3/8. If we remember, we double the bottom of a fraction, we get the half amount. So this is our sort of coordinates from the center. If our center point of the page here is 0 0, we're going to go negative 2. Negative 2 3/8 for the width, and then we're going to go negative 2 1/2 because we're trying to get a point down there in the lower left corner. So I'm going to just measure that out. We said we go over 2 1/2. I'm going to just start on the 5 here because it's easier. 1 2 inches and 1/2 inches, and then let's get a T-square out here. So I'm going to make a super light mark just to kind of help me out there. Okay. And then we're going to come down. Let's get some mark on here, some vertical mark. There we go. Super light, so I can lay my scale on that, and we're going to measure down 2 1/2. 1 2 1/2. Right there. So this point right here that I just found, and I know I'm keeping my line super light, but you can see the general marks that I'm making here. This point right here, I'll make that a little darker so we can see it, is going to be this corner of this object right there. So now I can just start drawing this front view very simply because I have all the sizes right here. And this part should be pretty comfortable for everyone. Probably the biggest challenge is just finding that corner. And that comes from, finding that overall height and width, and then finding how you're going to get down to that lower left corner from the center of that object. So I'm going to just go from here. We know the width of this is, let's see, we measured it. We have dimensions. Great. It's 2 inches wide. So I'll make a mark on here, coming straight out. Let's see, 2 inches. So that's going to be an edge right there. Let's draw that line. Okay. And I'm going to come up, let's see, 3/4 of an inch on either side. So you can really go about this part any way that you like. And in fact, I'm going to just skip ahead in this video to a point where this front view is already drawn. So that's going to help us a bit. All right, so my front view is now complete. As is customary in these videos that I have been showing you, I have made the lines darker probably than you should make them. You should make sure you are keeping them as light as possible until the very end when you will darken things in. I'm just doing it darker so that you can see what my lines look like better over the camera. I'm just cleaning up this corner now from this point that we started at because it's ugly and it's bugging me. So you can always clean up with your eraser shield as you go or later. But again, you want light lines. You want lines probably about as light as these here. You do not want them as dark as this is here. I'm just doing that for the sake of the demonstration. So we now have this front view done. Beautiful. What we need to do now is we need to create that top view. If you remember from when we were sketching this, we projected lines up by just sort of freehanding them on there. Well, now we don't need to do that anymore. We have our drafting instruments. We can draw vertical lines. So I'm just going to get through here, and I am going to project up these top view lines just by taking my triangle against my T-square, and so triangle against T-square. I'm just going to very lightly project these lines up. You can see that faintly, that is there. So I am just projecting up each of these edges, and this really helps if you watch these videos in the highest definition you have available. I'm sort of overdoing the height because I can always erase, because these are super light lines. They're just construction lines. I'm going to erase them later, but that gives me the height. Now, if you'll recall, we have a distance between the views of 1.5 inches. That's how much room we want to leave minimum. We can leave more. For the sake of this drawing, because it's our first one, we are going to leave exactly that amount. And look at this. I've got lines that I can measure up on. So when I say 1.5 inches, I mean from the highest object line here. So I'm going to put this on the 1.5 inch mark, lay it along one of my construction lines. And that spot right there is going to indicate the very front of this whole drawing. So it's probably really that point right there that I just found. Yep, if we look. And be careful, I've got a little horizontal line here. You don't want to get confused, so you may want to erase construction lines you used earlier on just to make sure you don't get confused. So again, I've now found right here, this little faint dot, the starting point of the front of my object. So if I look here, I'm not going to draw construction lines all the way across. I'm going to eyeball in this line and this line, and then I can measure up and I can find these other lengths here. So first I'm going to eyeball. Uh-oh, I've moved my camera. There we go. First I'm gonna eyeball in this front little edge here. And we know that that lines right up with this. So I'm not moving my T-square. I'm just adding those two lines. So I just added this line and this line. Now I'm going to find this line. Well, we can count that is 2 squares back from the front. So that is 2/4 of an inch, also known as 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to lay this on here. I'm going to go 1/2 inch back, make a little mark that I'm going to use my T-square on then to fill in the blanks. Okay. And from there, I can go 1, 2, 3 back, and that is going to give me the very back edge of the object. So, and really, I could have done this in one mark. Theoretically, it's more accurate if you don't keep moving your scale. But when you're learning here, sometimes it can be okay to keep lifting up your scale and moving it around like that. So, and as you start to feel more comfortable with these techniques, you're going to start noticing, how can I create all the lines I need with the fewest possible movements of all of my instruments? So that comes with time. And now look at that. We have our top view. That's pretty light. So I'm going to darken that in for a moment, and we'll come back and you'll see that. Again, you don't want to darken as you go. You want to wait till the end, but I'm doing it so you can see better. Okay, so we have now, I've darkened this in a bit so that it's a little clearer to see. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to generate this right side here. So same deal as with the top. We're going to project those edges off there. So this is as simple as, let me find a harder pencil. I'm going to use 4H. That's the hardest. That's good for construction lines. Project off, do it a little bit of overkill where it maybe goes too far. So that I have lots of room to work later. Projecting. So I have these very faint lines here. Should still be fairly visible though. No good way to adjust the lighting. So those represent our edges here, and that's going to give us our 3 lines there, but now we need to find those depth lines. Now, this is where there are a lot of different techniques. I'm going to show you what I think the easiest way is for stealing the depths from up here, and that is using a compass, okay? So this is as simple as, if you notice here, say I want to get the distance from here to here so that I can find that line. We know we're going to start with this line is 1.5 inches away, as we've talked about the space between the views. But I need to get the distance from this point right here up to this point. And then I need to get the distance also to the back. Well, I can steal those from my top view here because they're the same. The distance from here to here is really the same as the distance from here to here. Since this was the front surface, this was this surface right here, and so is that, we know that this dotted line, this hidden line, and this part up here is this whole front surface, which is the same as that line. So the distance from here to here is equal to the distance from here to here. And I can take advantage of that by sneaking in here with my compass, moving it till it's the right size, wiggling it around a little bit, and then I'll be able to bring it down here and look at that. They're exactly the same. So let's do that over here on the drawing. So I'm going to put this right on one of these spots. I'm going to close my compass or open it as needed until it's just on that line right there. And then I'm going to come down here and, oh, I forgot to draw my front line. So let's sneak in there real quick. We'll set that aside. We'll save that. And let's add that in there. So I said 1.5 inches between the views. So I'm just going to lay my scale right on here, and I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So there we go. This little spot right there is going to be this front part. So now I can grab my compass again, which I know that was this surface here that I pulled from, and I'm just going to lay this on. I'm going to make the tiniest mark so I can see how far back that went. And then I'm gonna add that line in. You can do this all in one pop. You can transfer all the marks all at once, or you can flip-flop back and forth and add in your vertical lines now. So I'll just add it in for some clarity. So we had the front part of this, which goes from here to here. If we look at our sketch, see how we keep consulting our sketch. This is why it's so critical to have the sketch first. So we'll have that distance there. And then we just found this line right here. So I'm going to slide my vertical edge over. And that really goes this whole height. We're going to put the dashes in later with our eraser shield. Now I need to find the distance from here to here. Well, we just stole this distance from here to here. Now I'm going to steal the distance from here to here. So same deal. Get in here with our compass. I'm going to put a point on the starting point, open this up, and transfer that distance. Okay, that looks good. We'll do it up here at the top because we know we have that edge. And right there, that little mark I just made is going to be the back part of this drawing. Bam. Okay, we have that whole height in there. So now I'm just going to, again, darken this in so we can come in here. I'm darkening this. You should wait until you're totally done and darken last, but I'm going to darken it for the sake of clarity. Let's see, this comes all the way back. This is going to go here. This line is going to be dark until we get to the hidden part of it. And let me show you how you can create a hidden line. So I'm going to continue this line, but I'm keeping it pretty thin. And then I've shown this a couple times in class. What you can do is get in here with your eraser shield and kind of line it up so that, let's see, there's my top line and my bottom line is down here. I'm going to line it up so that the dashes touch. It's masking the parts so there's dashes touching each top and bottom edge. For this one, it looks like it's about 3 holes, and then I just scrub the eraser over those holes. I don't want to erase anything else except these spots, and I got to hold this down real good, but when I take it away, what we see is we're left with a pretty decent dash line, and you can always come in here. It looks like the top of that line there for me got a little accidental erasure, so I'm going to just darken that a tiny bit. So pretty good, decent spacing between the lines. And now we have our front, top, and right side views. So it would be at this point that I would encourage all of you to darken in. Up until this point, you should have kept everything light. I was keeping things dark, so it was a little clear how you could see it. But those are the key ways. You start with the front view, project up, take your distances referring to the sketch you made, and then steal those distances from the top view to generate your right side view so that you get something that looks like this. And you can see that was pretty accurate to our sketch that we did on the graph paper or on the white paper laid over top of the graph paper. There will be links to the video on how to do all this in the description below. And I'm going to make another video to show you how to add the dimensions onto here to transfer them over. But that is all that there is for this video. So I hope that this helps.